Welcome to Doing the Work, a Naples Integrated Recovery podcast. My name is Brian, and this space is for anyone who's tired of surviving the same emotional and behavioral loops, whether that's anxiety, trauma, addiction, or problems in your relationships. Around here, we cut the surface level advice and sugarcoating, no platitudes or bumper sticker wisdom. We focus on clarity, responsibility, emotional discipline, and the courage to look at yourself honestly so that you can stop repeating old patterns and start living with intention instead of reaction. Let's get into it. Today, we're getting into a relationship dynamic that a lot of people minimize or don't name, but many have lived through, whether that is a straight couple, queer couple, early dating, long-term commitment, doesn't matter. And it is the moment when you are going to spend time with a friend or coworker and a partner says, yeah, go ahead and have fun. But then afterward, they pull back or go quiet, or something feels distant, that they're physically present but emotionally checked out, and maybe even that the next day or two feels off. Not anything dramatic or explosive, nobody slamming doors or breaking plates, but an emotional freeze that doesn't thaw until something reconnects. Not a fight, no obvious rupture, but a shift in energy. And I am going to call this the Jealous Shutdown Cycle. A mixture of insecurity, nervous system activation, and protective withdrawal that can land like punishment, even though the partner who's doing the withdrawing isn't trying to be punitive. Now, let's be honest, probably most of us have been to some extent on this from either side at some point. The person who withdraws and the person who is left wondering, why does it feel cold? Before we break it down, I would like to give one of the clearest and funniest, maybe even a little bit exaggerated, portrayals of this dynamic that you could see. There's an episode of Modern Family where Jay leans in to kiss Gloria and then she pulls away. He asks what's wrong, and then she delivers this absolute masterpiece of what protest logic looks like. So the first part is their interaction, and then it pans away to her being interviewed separately where she shares something else. So I'm going to play it real quick.
Whoa. What's all that about? You mad at me or something?
I don't know. Did you do something to make me mad? Because then I am. But if you didn't, then I am not.
I didn't do anything.
Then I am not mad.
Okay, and pan away for a separate shot.
I am mad.
I love it. It's hilarious. I don't even know that it's exaggerated. It's really emotionally spot on, because I have couples all the time that I will just call them out and just name the behaviors that I'm seeing. I'm not mad, but then I'll say as the therapist, I'm like, well, your face looks mad. Your body language looks mad. And then, the other partner nodding. So this is the shutdown, an unspoken protest, displaced irritation, the whole thing communicated through distance or body language instead of clarity. So that is what we are unpacking today. So let's just start by naming this dynamic clearly, because clarity alone can be regulating. You make friends, partner says they're fine with it. Maybe they actually believe that they are. And then after the visit, something shifts. The warmth feels gone, and then for the next 24 to 48 hours, there's an emotional fog that can't really be described. Nothing dramatic happening, but there's some sort of an emotional signal. And internal family systems would say that a protective part has stepped forward to manage fear, but accidentally created distance instead of closeness. Gottman's work might say that a withdrawal is an attachment protest that isn't being named, that it's actually a bid for connection that isn't being named. Two different models, same conclusion. This is fear, not malice, not manipulation. It's fear that's showing up sideways. And jealousy is not a personality flaw. It's actually part of physiology. So if you haven't noticed on this show, a lot of the stuff that may have been described as toxic behaviors, well, sometimes it's toxic, that toxic behaviors or character defects or all these harsh words that we use, a lot of it ties down to your nervous system and just general human behavior that maybe we can all do a little bit better with. So this is physiology. The nervous system has detected a threat to connection, and so it reacts. Lizard brain goes in the driver's seat, amygdala fires off, and it releases a bunch of stress hormones that cause your heart rate to shift, your muscles to contract, breathing changes, thinking gets foggy, and then we start making up stories, right? I've talked about this on a handful of different episodes. With that, some people may protest outwardly with snappy comments, irritation, maybe picking a fight, and others protest inwardly, which is more about what this episode is, a jealous shutdown. And in polyvagal terms, that's a dorsal vagal response, a freeze state that is meant to quiet the discomfort so that the person doesn't have to feel vulnerable. From the inside, it feels like I need to go in or shut down or move away before I get hurt. And on the outside, it looks more like punishment. But here's the crucial piece, is that the body is responding to impact, not intention. Even if this person thinks that they are just truly staying out of the way or trying not to be toxic or whatever, your nervous system registers that withdrawal as disconnection. This cycle didn't start in this current relationship. It's usually rooted in an attachment pattern that formed long ago. When jealousy hits and gets managed through withdrawal, usually 3 different forces are at play. The first is a protest behavior. I'm hurting and I want you to notice. This cold tone, shift in energy, or retreat to silence is a distress signal that's wrapped in distance. The internal message is, I miss you, or I feel threatened, but saying that out loud feels too risky. And so for that person, it's not punishment, it's self-protection. Then there is a deactivation strategy, like, this is too vulnerable, so I am retreating or going numb. And for some people, it's not an outward protest at all. It's just an internal shutdown where there is flat energy or a muted tone, or that they disappear into cleaning the kitchen or scrolling on an app. And it may look like they are indifferent, but internally they are overwhelmed. So probably for this person, there's an internal message. If I can stop feeling, or if I can push this away, then I won't get hurt. And the third is triangulation, which is where fear gets redirected onto the third person. This is where the friend becomes the stand-in for whatever is actually happening inside the jealous partner. The partner probably isn't actually threatened by that specific person, but their system is redirecting the insecurity outward because feeling it inward would be too painful or too raw. So instead of staying with, I feel insecure, or acknowledging, I'm afraid that I am not enough, or a young part of me feels exposed, the mind finds it easier to shift to, it's this situation, or I don't like that friend, or something about all of this feels wrong. And then this external person becomes the symbol, not necessarily the cause. In IFS language, a protective part is redirecting attention away from an exile's pain, and in Gottman language, the emotional threat is being misassigned. So protest says, I'm hurting. Deactivation says, I can't afford to show it. Triangulation says, let me redirect this attention somewhere else where it feels safer. But both Dr. Schwartz, the creator of IFS, and John Gottman would agree, this isn't about the third person. It's about an old survival strategy that's trying to protect your partner in the only way that they know how. Humans notice these micro shifts in connection long before they are even thinking consciously. So even if a partner is saying, I'm not mad or everything's okay, your body notices the disconnection with a tone change or emotional absence or eye contact that feels different. So the nervous system reads, we're disconnected, something feels wrong. And then with that can come thinking spirals of guilt, confusion, self-blame, or hesitation to make plans in the future, which isn't about responding to jealousy, it's responding to the unspoken rupture that didn't have repair. And one of the tenets of Gottman's work is that relationships don't fail because of conflict, they fail because there is poor or no failed repair attempts. This cycle then traps people with this unwinnable choice. You see the friend and you get frosted at home, or you avoid the friend and then you potentially abandon yourself and your needs and then resent your partner. And with that, people they start shrinking their world, not because their partner demanded it, but because the emotional price tag felt too high. And then the internal shrinking can breed resentment. The resentment can destroy intimacy. And then no relationship is going to thrive when one person is abandoning their own needs to try to protect somebody else's fear. All adults are responsible to manage their own emotion and mood. Now, that's not to say that we don't influence the behavior or the mood of other people, but ultimately, a very hard lesson for me to hear and learn in early recovery was that nobody can make anybody feel anything. We can influence how our behavior impacts other people, but ultimately, every adult is responsible for self-regulating. Now, for this jealous partner, usually underneath the hood is something that is a lot more tender and vulnerable, whether they are aware of that or not, that sounds something like, what if I'm not enough? What if I'm going to lose the person that I love? What if I get replaced? What if you enjoy being with them more? And often those fears feel too embarrassing or childish to admit directly, so a protective part steps in and shuts it all down. And Schwartz from IFS would say, withdrawal isn't the problem, it is the exile, the wounded part, or the part that carries shame or negative core beliefs that's under all of this that really needs the attention. In Gottman language, this is a misfired bid for attention that really needs the other partner to turn toward it. To break this pattern, you need two things: a different kind of conversation and a different kind of behavior afterward. Let's start with the conversation. Start with a gentle, grounded impact statement. This should be an I statement that is about behavior, not you always do this. So this can sound like, When I spend time with friends and then we feel distant afterward, that's hard on me. I want my friendships and I want closeness with you. Can we figure out a way that we can stay connected after those nights? Then, shift into curiosity instead of accusation. So that might sound like, what happens inside you on those nights? What kind of thoughts are showing up? What parts of you are feeling activated? And this can allow some space for your partner to unblend from those protective parts. And then clarify meaning. This isn't about the friend. This is about how you and I can try to stay connected when something inside stirs up fear. This will bring shared meaning. This next part, the behavior protocol, start with a micro agreement before the hangout, like, hey, I'm going out for coffee with blank person, or hey, so-and-so is coming over tonight. Can we check in afterwards so that you and I don't drift? This kind of predictability really offsets fear in the nervous system. And second, during the visit, self-soothe without disappearing. So if the partner needs to take some space and needs to process or do whatever, that's totally okay, but it's not okay to vanish and to ice the person and be cold for 48 hours. Self-regulation, healthy. Stonewalling, corrosive. So after the visit, put together a ritual of reconnection. Sit together. Share a sentence about your internal state, or have a physical gesture, whether that's just like a hand on the other person's hand, or have an ice cream together, or watch, my partner and I are watching White Lotus right now, watch an episode of TV together, and teach the nervous systems, we come back, nobody gets exiled. If you are the one who shuts down, it's important that you know you're not broken. Your system learned this strategy for a reason, but your partner can't connect with you if you disappear. And this internal jealous or insecure part of you, it doesn't need to be silent. What it does need is for you to stay present enough. Try something tiny, like, I'm activated, but I'm still here. Or, I need a few minutes for me to process all of this, but I promise that we're going to talk about it and I'll come back. Or, something even more vulnerable. Hey, I got a little bit insecure, but I'm still working on that. And those small bids for connection can change everything. Repair doesn't always need to be an apology or an analysis, and it's certainly not interrogating your partner's insecurity. Repair is about the connection. So, for example, I got activated earlier, I'm a little bit embarrassed, but I'm here with you now. And then the other partner saying, thanks for coming back, and I'm with you too. Then pair it with proximity and something small and shared. Gottman's research shows that repair attempts are the best predictor of a relationship working out, and Schwartz would say that a self-led presence calms those protective parts faster than any kind of reassurance ever will. But repair teaches both partners triggers and external things are not going to break us. Silence does. And we know how to find each other again after those moments of disconnection. So remember, this jealous cycle, not about the third person. It's about what two nervous systems do when closeness feels like it's at risk. Jealousy isn't the problem. Withdrawal isn't the problem. The real problem is absence of repair. When couples can learn to name this pattern, understand the parts that are involved, and create a predictable reconnection, everything shifts. The jealous partner stops bracing for abandonment. Those triggers may still be there. The other partner stops shrinking themselves, and then the relationship becomes stronger, safer, and more connected. This cycle is workable. You're not asking for too much. And when jealousy becomes information instead of an accusation, the relationship can become a place where both people can grow emotionally instead of staying stuck in their old patterns. And as you know, that is doing the work. Thanks for spending the time with me. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with somebody who may need to hear it. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others around you. Remember that we're all doing the best that we can with the tools that we currently have, and we are all capable of growing past them. If you'd like to reach out or connect, send me an email, brian@naplesintegratedrecovery.com. I hope to hear from you there. And in the meantime, thanks again for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.